What's up, chat? It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical once again, everybody. Welcome back in. We're going to be talking about some more new Codex stuff today. Updates on the car. Oh, man. Car's okay. It's all good. It's back. I've got it. All the lights are not on. All the systems work. They did call me during the stream yesterday, and they said, "Hey, your car's okay." And I said, "Sweet." That was at they called me about it. It was like an hour or so after I dropped it. So I dropped it right before the stream. I ran back here. That's why the stream was a little late yesterday. And ended up so they called me like maybe 90 minutes after I dropped the car. And they were like, "The car's okay." So I went back in. I walked over, not expecting to have to go back to the place today, because they said they would fix it tomorrow, or tomorrow, meaning today, now. So I was like, didn't expect you guys to need me back in here, so I showed up like at 5 p.m., which they were upset about. They kept calling me, "Hey, why aren't you here? Why aren't you picking up your car? Motherfucker told me that you were supposed to be, it's supposed to be done tomorrow. So why are you calling me about it a day early?" It was all good. It worked. I was like, "What was the problem?" And they said, "Oh, we just had to reset the maintenance computer." I was like, "You told me you did that last week. That's what you told me. And that's why all the lights turned on. And you are telling me that in 3 days of having my car, you didn't just try it again? You just didn't do that? And it took you 15 minutes? You could have just done that at any time? Anytime. Literally at any time. Could have just hit that button again and just made sure that it had worked the first time? No, we didn't want to do that. So I lost an entire weekend of streaming. I was back and forth to that place about 4 times. It's not super far away, but I have to walk back every time. So it was about probably 45-minute like round trip to drive over, get there, talk to them, walk back. It's probably 3-4 hours of my life I'm not getting back, because they didn't reset the computer. Boy, anyway. But it's done, and I never have to speak to them again. We're going to leave them a nice 1-star review, and then we're going to call it a day. And lesson learned, I guess. I don't know what the lesson was. Don't trust anyone. be a jaded bitch. But anyway, it's done. I'm going to be at Richmond over this weekend. I have a vehicle. We're going to get there. Total away games to expect me. So we're going to be live streaming this weekend. It's going to be amazing. And that the saga is complete with the stupidest resolution ever. But at least I don't have to like take it to court or anything, so that's good, I guess. Anyway, chat. Yeah, it was a whole deal. It was a whole deal. Can I hug the camera and say World Eaters are going to be okay? Well, we'll talk about that. I was hoping for really good stuff out of the points values. I'm not sure that's what we got. But we can talk about it momentarily here. Sounds like a car dealership. It was not a dealership. In fact, I've had nothing but good experiences going to my local dealership when I lived in Massachusetts, who sold me the car. They were expensive. They cost a lot of money, but it always worked. And they never forgot to hook up their maintenance computer. Jesus Christ, chat. Oh my God. Anyway, chat. So here's what we're going to be doing today. I have in my possession all of the points values from the new Munitorum Field Manual. At least these are alleged. They have been taken from other reviews of people who do have the Day 1 Munitorum Field Manual stuff. There is, of course, a chance that these are incorrect. But I have them for both, and I guess what I should have done, which I didn't do earlier, I have for both Death Guard and World Eaters And I think because we're on Pastebin today, maybe we turn our ad block back on? Oh, no, I turned it off because it was being a bitch. All right, just kidding. I have them for both Death Guard and World Eaters. So we're going to be going through some of these bad Mamma Jambas, talking about the data sheets, things that jump out to me, and any comparisons that we can make with similar or identical, even in some cases, data sheets from other factions. Oh, I didn't realize my music was so loud. Sorry, chat. We don't have exact enhancement costs. So from what I have read, and obviously this is a grain of salt here, from what I understand, the enhancement costs are the same as in the Codex. So there's that. We can also do some list building if we want to today. I know the Hippie Hunter wants me to play all T12, a T12 spam, which is definitely going to happen. So as before we sort of dive into this, I just want to drop some real quick housekeeping on you all. I will be live tomorrow here on the YouTubes, talking about doing a live run through, live rules, how to play session. We have a lot of new players in the Discord. We have a whole new player event that's starting on Friday. And I wanted to give people the opportunity to get any questions out that they want to. So I'm going to be in my Discord server, !Discord to chat. I'm going to be in a voice channel and hanging out with people and answering questions. Basically, we're going to run through some very, very basic how to play materials, and anybody who has questions will be able to do that either here on YouTube or in my Discord server. So that should be fun. And then obviously this weekend is Richmond Open, but in addition, just after this stream, so I think literally in 1 hour and 50 minutes at this point, we will be live with Emperor's Children versus Chaos Demons, a game I would not miss for the world, which is a T5S2 pod finals. So a little bit of commentary over on Twitch. So if you are not on my Twitchies, then get on there, because the show will continue over on Twitch after this stream is over. And that's what's up. That's what's going on. Dealerships more expensive but more reliable for cars. Yeah, that was what my experience too. Also, I have a Honda, and I went to a Honda dealership, and they were experienced with the actual make of the car, rather than just like guessing it and being wrong sometimes. Anyway, chat. Let's talk about some points values. I think I want to start by talking about World Eaters today, because I think that Death Guard are definitely a little contentious right now. Well, I guess they're both contentious, to be honest. People are both. I saw a meme today, and honestly, like the faction subreddits, because I was like grabbing all these points values. Faction subreddits are really funny too this weekend. Or this week. There are so many memes.
Brian G donated $5 through Super Chat. Can we get an F for DG Halbrute with Plasma and Fist? You were destined but flew too close to the sun. Probably the only disappointing PTS value.
Halbrute 115? Is that too much? That feels okay. It is a little squishy for 115. Which is unfortunate. And I guess it's not as fast as the World Eaters one. But yeah, we can talk about that. World Eaters one's 120, which I think is very reasonable for an infinite fight on target, which seems pretty good. Yeah, so the stuff that jumped out to me, Berserker, or 8-bound, excuse me. 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound. Oh, boy. Does Death Guard Halbert end up with boosted toughness? Now, off the top of my head, I don't remember. We can look. We have the technology. But it does get +1 to wound on all of its attacks. I think it's better than we give it credit for. Like, it's definitely not a fetid blood drone, and I don't think I would take it over a fetid blood drone. But I don't know if I would take all 6 fetid blow drones. I feel like you run out of space. I guess it's the comparison is a Biphidic Blightholler, right? And it's like a side grade. It's slower, It does not look like it has boosted toughness, actually, which probably would have helped it. If it was like T11, I think this thing is kind of silly. Pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. +1 to wound is like so strong, but also you get it off a Blight Hauler, so I don't know. I would like it to be like a melee, maybe just a melee guy, but he's a little slow for that. That's okay. But the thing that jumps out to me are, I think, initially the 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound for World Eaters. Because I was expecting, given the fact that we saw these guys get like huge sort of stat changes, right? They became like a Power Fist caddy essentially, rather than being their previous champion delivery system selves. That I was expecting them to get a commensurate points cost reduction. There's also the fact that, like, you know, I think they benefited maybe as a big beefy beat stick unit. They're one of the biggest concentrators for all of the Blessing of Corn buffs. And if we're not quite as good at doing that, the 8-bound feel a little worse to me. And they're 50 points per model, at least for standard 8-bound. Exalted 8-bound are 53 points per model because it's a unit of 3 or a unit of 6. 50 points per model, man, is a tough pill to swallow. I don't know what the exact, like, what a good comparison would be to what they do. There's not, like, really this, like, I guess they're like custodians, I guess, which in that framing, the points value makes sense, but their OC is not that good. Their defensive stats are not that good. They're the same toughness, but lower saves in every way. They're just faster. But and I guess, like, honestly, they do basically have martial katas built in, so, like, I don't know, because it's Blessings of Corn, basically that. But like, that doesn't feel quite as impressive to me. And they don't have, like, wound rerolls. They have, like, +1 to hit stuff that's below starting strength or whatever. Like, yeah, okay. And I guess the standard 8-bound are a buff unit, so maybe we're supposed to be playing them as like a 3-man support unit. Each time they make a melee attack that targets unit excluding monsters and vehicles, they get +1 to hit within 6 inches of the 8-bound. But monsters and vehicles are usually what you want hit, like, bonuses, attack bonuses against, because that's the stuff that's actually difficult to kill. So that ability is, like, kind of whatever, right? And it's extra weird for 8-bound in specific, because their +1 to wound, if they're attacking something that's small, is most likely, in many cases, not going to matter, right? And +1 to wound against a jump pack assaulted or sister unit that's below half. So first of all, you're dead anyway. Second of all, wounding on 2s anyway, so +1 to wound doesn't matter. So it's just like a weird ability that doesn't really feel like particularly synergistic to me. I don't know. And I feel like they're paying out the nose for that, as opposed to being really, like, a more offensively oriented. So I was in my head, I was kind of like, well, these guys come in at, like, 435, like 40 points. It's like a Terminator. They're not as difficult to kill. They don't have shooting, but they're fast and good at melee. Like, okay, that tracks. But they're 50 points a model, dude. Oh, man. That is a big deal. That's a lot. I think the ability is a force multiplier, but again, like, if it was just +1 to hit, I would understand, I think, right? Like, oh, man, okay, a +1 to hit aura off of a unit of dudes who hit pretty hard is, like, pretty sick. But it's +1 to hit with a million riders on it. Has to not be monster vehicle. It has a second clause. Has to be non-monster vehicle below half strength. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm sort of, trying to parse through the situations where I would really want +1 to hit against non-monster vehicle. Like, maybe it is Death Guard players. Like, all the Death Guard, get wrecked, Death Guard. I'm about to get +1 to hit against you for your -1 to hit aura. I think that's 130 for 3 would be fair. Yeah, that's certainly what I was expecting. Definitely, for sure. 50 points per model feels like a lot, though. Exalted 8-bound, 53 points per model. Oh, boy. They are anti-monster, anti-vehicle 3. And a higher AP value, which I do like. They are, in most cases, less reliable than standard 8-bound because they do not have +1 to hit baked in, and they also have less attacks. But I was kind of mulling over whether or not we are like which of these profiles I'm more excited about. The anti-monster anti-vehicle 3 is good with a higher AP value. But because they have so many force multiplication abilities, like effects inside the army, the additional attacks might go a little farther than you'd expect. Although the higher AP is like really good for these guys, so I don't know. But winning everything in the game on 3s is pretty good. Again, 53 points a model though. Oh boy. Oh man. Yeah, Exalted 8-bound is different. So they have Deep Strike rather than Scouts, and they have this anti-fallback thing for monsters and vehicles, which is cute. Like usually those abilities specify non-monster, non-vehicle. I think for the most part, if you are punching something with an Exalted 8-bound unit, they're just going to fall back from you anyway, because like if I remain in melee, I'm going to die. The interesting thing is when you do like a 6-inch pile and consolidate, these guys end up touching a bunch of vehicles. Then things get really rough if they're like in the heart of a guard gun line or something. But you have to get there, right? I think the idea is that like we do a rampant ingress, we clear some screens, and then these guys get into the heart of your vehicle, like your parking lot, and then suddenly this ability is like super obnoxious because you start to kill their vehicles on their turn. But it feels a little like Magical Christmas Land to me. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. You said if somebody shoots you with a 3 damage weapon. Yeah, imagine like these guys just getting shot by the regular battle cannon, right? Like one thing that often happens is that melee units don't typically benefit from cover quite as often as ranged units do, because you don't have as much control over where you're standing because of the 10th edition charge rules, dude. You got to base contact. You got to go to base contact. So 50% of the time, 60% of the time, you're not in cover. So somebody shooting you with an AP 1 3 damage just rips the entire unit. Right? Like you're saving on 4s, every conversion kills a guy, and you're losing 53-point models. Oh god, dude. I think that the 10th edition has had a little bit of a problem with overcosting melee stuff. When you compare like commensurate melee to range profiles, the melee stuff tends to be a little too expensive, and I think that's maybe a concession to melee being so strong in previous editions. But it's not as good in 10th. It's in fact, I think the worst that melee's like ever been, and they're getting better at it by they're printing melee profiles and abilities that are stronger. But the fact that your movement is so restricted in melee now, it's crazy to consider. Like we could be paying. My favorite comparison is like a Ballistus Dreadnought. You pay 140 points for a Ballistus Dreadnought, 10 points less than 8-bound. Which of those two things would you rather have? Would you rather have this like big 2+ save like Bulwark? They're different units, right? One's a shooting range platform. Or would you rather have 3 wound guys? I think I would rather have the Dreadnought that one-shots this entire unit in a single shooting activation from 48 inches away. Like, I don't know. It's just how I'm feeling today. Like... it's like rolling on 3s, rerolling, winning on 2s and 3s, and putting you on your involved with every attack, almost regardless. Every failed save is not guaranteed to kill you, but pretty reasonable to kill you. So that's wild to me that their value is so expensive. The World Eaters Terminators, we talked about how they have cool abilities, but they are the same cost as Blight Lords. Which, like, when we talked about Blight Lords previously, like, their capacity to just bounce in and kill something with their guns is, like, huge. It does require attached characters, which obviously these Terminators don't get. But I'm really confused about it. Do these guys get 10-man Terminator squads still? Is it literally just Emperor's Children that don't get 10-man Terminators? Yeah, they do. So, like, man, We could talk about the good stuff though, I guess, obviously. The heavy infantry definitely does not feel like the push here for sure. Something to be said about actually being able to kill something with a non-character infantry unit in Chaos though. Yeah. I mean I don't disagree, but it's I don't think it's entirely fair to compare World Eaters to all of Chaos. Because that's always what World Eaters have been able to do, right? World Eaters have had a very limited character selection. I mean, look at this. They have like 5 character data sheets. I guess 7 if you include the Demon Princes, or 8. 8, nice. We did it. Not including the demons, I guess. Compared to, I think somebody pointed out that like Emperor's Children had like 12 or something. You know, so it's like, that's not what the focus of the faction has been traditionally, right? Like 8-bound and these other big punchy units have always been in a capacity to kill people in melee by themselves, so that without really support. Aggressors versus the Ballistas is another good comparison. Yeah, aggressors are paying for the sins of early 10th edition. They were so dominant early 10th edition, they just got yeeted into the sun. And I like seeing them because I think the unit's like neat, and it always has really interesting play patterns to me. Whether you're like doing rapid ingress stuff with them, and whether you're doing transport stuff with them, but it's like there's no universe in which it's not too expensive to take those guys. They're really, it's because of Fire Discipline combo. They were taken in every list because they could combo with Fire Discipline so well with an Apothecary Biolocus, and then they nerfed Fire Discipline like 5 times, but they didn't change the unit that was benefiting from Fire Discipline, which is like, I don't know. It is what it is. Exalted 8-bound are worse flawless blades that cost 50 points more. Well, they're faster. I guess their speed is kind of commensurate with flawless blades, right? They're 2 inches slower, but they don't have to advance. They don't have to thrill seek, and they can get 6-inch pile and consolidate. Flawless blades are much easier to kill, which is funny because I'm definitely not going to say that I think that 8-bound are difficult to kill, but flawless blades are they're just regular guys. They're like T5 Space Marines, right? Pull up their data sheet real quick. I guess their 1 toughness lower. Oh yeah, so that is actually a really close comparison. Yeah. The flawless blades are their total throw range is a little bit longer without any assistance because they can advance and charge built in. But they have to use thrill seekers. And they're 33 points a model. They have less attacks. They don't hit as hard. So realistically, they probably should be cheaper. But they're 33 points per model, and they still aren't played. Which, like, you know, let's do the math here, right? Like, we're attacking 1 time less per model for 20 less points per model, and that's not even a profile that sees play. So instead, we're gonna upcharge them 20 points for basically the same unit. Wild. All right. I do think that in terms of some good stuff. Looks like all of the Predators got upcosted to 145 points. That is more expensive than they currently have it. I think they're 140 right now. Yeah, a standard Destructor chassis is 140. An Annihilator is 135. Yeah. So we are paying a little bit more for Predators. I have a sneaking suspicion that if we were to progress, I mean, the Space Marine Predators are kind of maybe a unique case for the Space Marine faction in particular because they have so much competition and Space Marines don't have the best support for them, that the classic Space Marine Predator is maybe okay at 135 because it doesn't really see that much play. I do think that it is likely we'll see other varieties of like the Predator chassis go up, and we have seen that in Death Guard, which we'll talk about momentarily, which I think is good because I think that the Predator hull spam like archetype is a little toxic. And I would certainly prefer to see those guys get up costed. The scary part for me is that World Eaters don't have the same amount of shooting support. Their Predator is better on a base level than most other people's Predators, as we talked about previously. Because it has this higher output, especially like on the Destructor, right? It's shooting 10 times. But when we are comparing it to even just Death Guard, who have also access to +1 AP from their Contagion Aura, Ignore Cover from the Defiler, -1 Toughness, like all this other stuff. Also, their guns more stronger for some reason. It doesn't feel quite as exciting. The Predators feel a little expensive to me. I do think that the Forge Friend at 150 is basically like a windmill slam, and I think that's generally the consensus. The new World Eaters Forge Fiend is super good. I already think that Forge Fiends were probably criminally underplayed in World Eaters. I think that the data sheet itself was like solid enough, and you could giving speed buffs to a gun platform is like actually just kind of good because it gives you so much more opportunity to both like progress your table presence, right? A lot of times you start them in the back line, but then you can move them up and push them to objectives towards the mid game. And sometimes if you have really slow range platforms, that actually gets really difficult. Forge Fiends being like basically movement 10 in World Eaters was actually always pretty good. Now they're just baked in movement 10. You don't have to spend Blessings of Corn on it. So they're a little bit more maneuverable than a classic Forge Fiend. Plus they get reroll hit rolls within 18 inches, which I think is obviously is really good. And additional shots in their active plasma from what a normal Forge Fiend would do. So 150 for these guys feels really good. I know it's not a great comparison with the Chaos Space Marine Forge Fiend because theirs has devastating wounds, but theirs is also 180. So you're getting it's kind of like if you discount the devastating, the damage output is side graded. The Chaos Forge Fiend is going to have sustained hits on its gun versus rapid fire and full hit rerolls. So this Forge Fiend is basically like +1 attack and hit rerolls versus +2 to hit. On the Chaos Space Marine Forge Fiend, devastating is obviously a huge deal, but for 30 points per model, that's like kind of a big one. The other Forge Fiends, the other comparisons are like the Thousand Suns one, which is 145. And it just is like less good at shooting, and that's not even a particularly bad platform either. So this feels like a W to me. It's funny because it I don't know. I guess like maybe we're assigning like too much intention to Games Workshop, but it's funny that like both I think these guys and Death Guard, as we'll talk about momentarily, have like crazy good demon engines. And I don't know what the push is for demon engines to be good here is like. Was that a profile that like we had already seen Forge Fiends be incredibly dominant in early 10th edition? Like, we're going back? We're going back to everyone having like a big guy with claws. Like, it's weird. It's like a weird direction to go in. 6 Screamers are the same cost as 3 Exalted 8-bound. Oh my god, that's fucking true, dude. For their anti-monster, anti-vehicle. They're 1 less AP and 1 less anti-monster, anti-vehicle. But they're like their attack, they have a higher attack volume and better defensive stats. So what the fuck? I guess they're only T4, but they have a 4+ involved rather than 5+ involved, so they actually save more often. Oh man. And they're move 14 to do bombing runs. Incredible. It's those numbers have to go down, right? I mean, maybe we're just crazy. Maybe we're insane people because we haven't played, like, the Codex hasn't really been played yet, but it's just, from the outside looking in, like, on the outset, those numbers are so high, dude. Oh, my God. Yeah, just check out the Emperor's Children Forge Fiend. Yeah, dude. It's so strong. So good. These people spamming Forge Fiends and he gets a points nerf. Yeah, well, we'll see. I think Games Workshop, I guess they have nerfed like things that got spammed for no reason in the past. It does feel like when you have one good data sheet and you take 3 of them, you're like, and Games Workshop's like, you can't take 3 of those. You're like, what else am I supposed to take? It costs. This thing has like the same damage output as my 8-bound, except it does so at 18 inches away, with a gun versus having to charge my opponent. And they're the same cost. Like I don't get it yet. Absolutely wild. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're really like cooking too much with that. Hellbrute at 120 feels a little high. I think they used to be 115, right? What was the old World Eater Hellbrute? Oh, they were 130 previously, actually. They went down from the 8th edition version? Or the 8th edition? Fuck me, the index version? Jesus Christ. I'm like 9th edition pilled this week, I think, chat. I keep getting screwed by charge rolls in 10th, and I just want to go back to 9th. And I want. 120 for this little friendo? It feels very good to me. As we talked about, like awkwardly, the one of the reasons that we see the Death Guard one be so expensive is that their hammer is a +1 to hit. We talked about, but these guys have more attacks, so it's fine. One thing that we could do potentially is rock like double heavy flamer, double fist if we wanted to. We could also rock a fist plus hammer if we didn't want the heavy flamers. And then we just have this little move 9 dude. He's got 6-inch Byline Consolidate, and he has a reactive attack with between like 8 and 9 3 damage melee attacks, or 6 d6 plus 1, I guess, whatever ends up being the most optimal loadout for him. And also like reactive shooting as well. So these dudes feel very good, especially if we're already kind of like, we do have our ranged contingent from Forge Fiends and maybe some other stuff already supplied. So I think these little friendos are probably going to be another little sneaky inclusion for World Eaters. World Eaters now a vehicle monster faction. It's so funny because, I mean, we talked about this the other day. This was what I played when I played World Eaters in 10th edition. I played all Hellbrutes and fucking Forge Fiends and shit, and they're so good in this new codex. Like their data sheets are super strong, and so it's like Games Workshop was like, yes, Trevi, do more of that, please. Play more weird vehicle armies. Although lack of advance and charge is going to hurt them quite a bit. Like getting a new move 9 dude in there is tough. But they can do rapid ingress stuff. They're actually kind of interesting in rapid ingress too, because they can eat like one attack, and then your opponent just like gives them reactive shots on their turn if they end up ingressing into line of sight. And it's not the end of the world. 2+ base armor save is also good too, especially in this faction that's almost entirely 3+ save across the board otherwise. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of into it. Might also be a ranged profile that we play around with too. If you want to do reactive shooting quite a bit, because you could rock like the plasma cannon, the rapid fire D3 plasma cannon, or we could rock multi-meltas and just like shoot a ton of times. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I do think that 120 is a pretty okay spot for these guys to sit at. Combo 8-bound with the Hellbrute gets to hit on 2s against infantry. Yeah, it's not too bad. Definitely helps a little bit. Wish a Hellbrute could take a Bale Flamer. I think everyone would rather take a Bale Flamer. You have an 8-wound Invader ATB or a Hellbrute with the same wound count and double the price. I mean, I don't think that's a particularly apt comparison, because the Hellbrutes it has a stronger save characteristic, it has a higher toughness value, and it just hits like a truck, where it's like a different unit, right? It's a combat unit versus a utility unit. I'm not looking forward to them getting one-shot by Invader ATBs, but I think that's it's probably a problem exacerbated by Oaths of Moment more than anything. He's also tiny, yeah. The little 60 mil base guys, you forget, because Warhammer's so power crept at this point. It's really easy to forget like how small the little 60 mil base monsters and vehicles are until you put them on the table and they fit like inside of a building. We've been pushed to 100 mil bases Like even at the start of the edition, right? Like a Screamer Killer Carnifex went up from a 60 mil round to 100 mil, and they're just enormous for basically the same defensive profile. But then you actually play the original model as God intended on his little tiny base, and he's like a little guy. They get everywhere. They're so cute. I get that with Hive Tyrants all the time. People are like, wait, why is he so small? And you're like, that's just how big they are, man. I don't know. He's just a little baby. I'm just a little guy. Yeah. That's why the Hive Tyrant profile sucks so hard in this edition, because Games Workshop was like, guys, it's an edition of giant monsters now. The little monsters can't be good at fighting. Okay. All right, G-Dub, you win. All right. Other pickups from this breakdown. Maxture of Executions at 60 feels pretty good. That's like that's less than half of what he was 130, right? He was 110. Excuse me. I think I every time I always like upcharge him. Every time I talk about his price, he's like, what? He's 105? No, he's 110. So what would you say? 115 points? No, Trevi, 110. You idiot. Oh, 130 points. Wow, that's a lot. No. But 60 for this guy? He gives you reroll advances, reroll blood surge dice, and he's full hit and wound rerolls against characters with devastating. These guys do feel like windmill slams. Like the full hit, I kind of wish he had like a reroll ones effect. He was like reroll 1 to hit and wound, full rerolls against characters. I think that'd be nice. Obviously, we're kind of asking for a lot there, but having a 60-point melee character with devastating wounds feels pretty good, especially who also does have an additional ability, like a support effect for his unit. I think these guys might be pretty strong. I think like if we're looking at Berserker Warbands, we're just like windmill slamming 3 of them on the table, right? Like basically every time, because they also got their 6 attack, strength 10, potentially rerolls. For 60 points, dude. That's spammable. That's submissive and spammable, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, plus their caddies for enhancements for sure. Oh, 135 with glaive. I think that must be what I was thinking of. Yeah, for sure. Nightbringer versus Fulgrim is the funniest comparison. Yeah, Nightbringer's like the side of Fulgrim, of like one of Fulgrim's swords. The Nightbringer's so funny because it's like he's the perfect example of scale creep because he's from so far away in the past. I wonder if there's somebody that just has a comparison picture of the Nightbringer. Let's look. He's from so long ago that he used to be the big scary guy. Look at this artwork, dude. This artwork's so cool, but it's so not what he looks like. We find him in a battle report. It's just like, it's comical when he's fighting people because he's just a little baby. No. Google, give me a good picture of the Nightbringer. All I get is people's cool converted Nightbringers that are like big and impressive looking. But he used to be the big scary monster, right? Like I remember back in my day when I was a little kid and I used to play in a gaming club, and I had a friend who had a Nightbringer, and the Nightbringer was the scariest thing that anyone had because we were all playing like 1,000-point 40k way back in the day. And he was used to, like, everyone was scared of him. Oh man, how are you gonna kill a Nightbringer? He's like toughness 1,000,000, and he kills anything he touches, and he has a big blast weapon for his gaze. It's like AP2 or something. And now like he's just this fucking goober, dude. He's just this little baby. I did have a friend who was very proud one time he killed the Nightbringer with only bolters. He was just like, back in like 4th, 5th edition, the these monsters, because they were monster, he's a monster keyword. Monsters were just low, like basically vehicles, but vehicles could be one shot by weapons. Monsters were basically big infantry that has super high toughness value and like 5 wounds, which meant that 5 conversions from any weapon would kill them. Everything always did 1 damage, but you could kill them with 5 bolter shots potentially. That said, they usually had really good save characteristics, and they usually had really good. They're like a 3+ or 2+ save, and they typically had really good toughness characteristics. Which the toughness chart was different. You used to wound on 6s basically. With anything below, like strength, like 7 would wound them on 6s. So it required 1 million bolter shots to actually kill one, right? But once you did, he would just go down like a ton of bricks, which is really funny. But how the times have changed, right? Where this guy's just a little thing. I cannot find a comparison picture online of what the Nightbringer looks like now, like compared to other models. Oh, it is all people's really cool conversions. Look at this thing, dude. This is so sick. It's so wrong. He's like 12 times the size. I appreciate it though. It looks good. He's the best example of the funny scale creep though. Nightbringer on Void Dragon level would look so sick. Yeah, Void Dragon's always surprising because he actually is a little small from what you would expect. He's on a big base. He's on 100 mil base, but he's like only 100 mil, and the actual little Catan Shard guy is a really little dude, and most of it is the particle effects around him, like most of the miniature. So he's actually kind of like not the biggest dude in the world when you look at him. Wish the Master of Execution model was better looking. Yeah, fortunately, he's like eminently proxyable, right? It's just a dude with a big axe, and I think that he's like perfect conversion fodder, you know. It should not be that hard to find a big axe man, and I always appreciate the corn stuff, the Chaos Space Marine stuff for the most part, but also like the corn stuff in specific, because I think you can delve into a lot of different model ranges and it still fits. You could take like any big warrior man from basically any model range, works in theme. You just like give him a head swap and a backpack. Like essentially all you need is a backpack. But any big man in big armor is like good enough, right? So you like raid Reaper miniatures for all their like cool big barbarian men, or Age of Sigmar, or you know a trillion STL foundries or whatever, and you can find cool stand-ins for these dudes, I think, which is nice. I think that's a big benefit of the faction. You killed the Nightbringer, the entire Necron army died because the army roll. That was insane. Yeah, we ended up, that was the house rule. We played without that for a while. Because we used to just like, my poor friend, he used to like rock in with his, I got my monolith and I got my Necron warriors. That you just kill all the Necron warriors, the monolith would phase out. It's so stupid as shit. They were so broken in 3rd edition that they had a rule that nerfed them to the point of literal unplayability in 4th and 5th. It's a mess. So yeah, Master of Executions feels really good. The Juggernaut Lord at 90 might be okay too. Problem is that he's only AP 1 in melee. It's 1 million attacks, but only AP 1, and we don't have a trillion like outlets for additional AP in this attachment or in this faction. I think there's one stratagem, right? So that doesn't. He's on the same page that the Master of Executions is on. I don't know why I closed that. So that's it's probably fine, to be honest. He's a 7-wound dude with 11 attacks. Like I think 90 points actually for him is great. Like we're comparing him to essentially a Space Marine captain, and he's definitely not as good as a Space Marine captain because he you know, on the finest hour turn, a Space Marine captain's going to hit harder on the comparison. But this dude's like baseline. His top line profile is better. He doesn't get free strats, but he gets you extra movement on your unit, which is better. So I think this dude is also probably eminently playable at 90. 90 feels okay for him. Actually feels, it's like low when you, that's a model that's really big, right? And it's funny to see them at like just regular points value, like regular foot guy points value. Foot Demon Prince also being 200 is pretty good as well, because those guys are going to be basically played every single time. In order to unlock the CP cost reduction effect. So you want this guy for a late game puncher, and then also you get him for the stratagem discount. So only, quote unquote, only 200 for them, I think is pretty good. There's definitely a universe where that guy was like 240 or something, and then the faction was just like crying and vomiting, but I think we're okay. But other than that, there's not much else that really like sort of pops out to me as being crazy, which I'm a little disappointed for. The Slaughterbound being 85 is like kind of funny. This little man he's such a weird dude, because he looks like he's so impressive, but he is basically just a Space Marine captain. he's a one additional attack Space Marine captain with a slightly higher like top line profile, but his leadership ability is like probably worse. So it's like 85 points makes sense, but it feels so low for him, even though his actual stat line is not that impressive when you like break it down. Karn seems like an auto include, so Karn's gonna get at 85. Yeah, that does seem great. 85 for a regenerating character is amazing. So we're kind of like, we're in on the foot characters. The infantry feels like maybe it's a miss, and then we're in on Forge Friends. So it feels to me like, I guess if we were to sort of like do a little bit of a list construction, let's open up a little word processor here. If I turn on my dark mode, is it gonna like freak out? No, it's mostly okay. So if we go like go away, my Google sheet thing. So if we like windmill slam 3 Forge Friends, and 3 Hell Buddies, we can drop 360. It's about 800 points on vehicles, and that's like kind of where our initial loadout is. The other question is like Khorne Demon King is probably a pretty going to be, I think, a pretty reasonable way to play the faction too, and you also get the pretty good monsters out of the Khorne Demon selection. Other than that, it feels to me like we might be in for Berserker Warband. We get things like Helm of Brazen Iron for our Demon Prince, which is good. +1 attack and damage characteristic for like probably Master of Executions is probably a pretty strong place to go. We get advancing charge on the Khorne Berserkers, and obviously you can combo that with Master of Execution. So like I think on top of that we're just playing like 30 Berserkers or something. And that's where we get our +1 AP as well. We are also awkwardly better at doing battle with people with vehicles, because we can -1 damage the vehicles, which is kind of interesting. The other thing is the Goretrack Onslaught, right? We can get Lance. It doesn't benefit we just have really good strats for Rhinos. We don't really benefit the other vehicles so much. Besides the reactive move. I think I'd probably be in on Berserker Warband first. At least just to get started. And so if we run like 3 executions and 30 Berserkers, That would be they're 180 per. I kind of wish there were 160. So that's 540. So that's 990 plus another 540. So we're at 1530. Demon Prince, Restrats, and then we have like 470 points left, so 270 points. We want rhinos. Take 3 rhinos. Yeah, the rhino's 185. Jesus. And that's probably the list. Maybe cut a couple things cut some stuff for enhancement money. Because I think we want at least the -1 damage enhancement from the Demon Prince. It feels like pretty good. But that would be like where I would start with this faction, I think. Maybe we cut one down to like 2 Hell Brutes instead of 3. They feel like such a good late gamer. But I'm not 100% sure. Karn and Spawn. Do you do 2? I kind of like Karn by himself. I mean, I guess you get him. You get rerolls if he's attached, but otherwise he's like a good utility dude. He's move 8 baseline, and then regenerates himself, so you can like wander around. You can also you can put him into a Rhino alongside a Master of Executions. They can't dual attach, but they can just hang out in the Rhino for a bit. So yeah, probably Karn. Which means you would probably have to cut a Halberd, I think, but that's probably fine. I don't think 3 is probably too many. Where are we at right now? Uh, 450 plus 240 plus 180 plus 85 plus 540 points. Oops, that's 54. Plus 200 points for the Demon Prince. Plus 255 for 3 rhinos, which could cut to 2 rhinos potentially. And we do like Rapid Ingress play with one of them. We could go down to 1 Hellbrute for utility units if we wanted to. Which I think is probably okay. Yeah, I guess like this Hellbrute spam does feel a little bit tough because they're not fast enough. But one of them coming out of Rapid Ingress feels like kind of a nightmare. Because it's close enough to it's fast enough to like close the distance quickly. And then the big benefit too is that I don't know if they changed this. There was an interaction previously. Okay, they did change it. There was an interaction previously where I believe it was Berserker Warband gave you +1 attack and strength each time you were selected to fight if you had made a charge move that turn, which was very funny because a Hellbrute would constantly be stacking its if it got to attack multiple times, which is very rare. The Hellbrute got to stack its bonus multiple times, but in any case, you do get this bonus multiple times in a phase. You don't stack it, obviously, but being able to attack 2 or 3 times over the course of a single phase means you're essentially you're adding 3 attacks with +2 strength to the total value of the army from the detachment rule. So any of those like statistical bonuses are really strong in Hellbrutes, I think. So I'd like to take at least 1 to set up those like bouncing attacks. And we could cut to 2 rhinos maybe, and then just have a ground pounding unit or an ingressing unit. I don't think we necessarily need every single one of the Berserker units to be on the table. I do also wonder if those rhinos will drop 5 points. I think it's fine if rhinos are expensive. Fuck rhinos, they're stupid. Oops. But I also think that it's compared to like the Death Guard one, 85 is a little expensive. Even though the reactive effect from that the World Eaters Rhino have is really cool. So we can add Jackals, which are 65. That means that we would have to cut something to add to add Goremongers. Or we just add the Goremongers. I think the Jackals are important for the backline. And then we also want enhancement money. So there's like a little bit of... There's a little finagling to do. It is too bad that we can't cut to 5 Berserkers. I think I would play 25 rather than 30 probably to get another unit in there. But I don't know. That feels like the starting point. It fits hugging infantry to give the Demon Prince slot up. Yeah, but you can do it with like Jackals, or you can do it with like a character. You don't necessarily need him to be like surrounded by guys. You just have to have a dude behind a wall 3 inches away. I think I'd play Karn alone. Or I would just play the Master of Executions. To be honest, especially in Berserker Warband, Master of Execution feels just like really good, like such good value. Right? Like 6 attacks, strength 9. With potential rerolls, with potential +1 AP. Just feels like really good for 60 points. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's a bad take, but these guys just feel like really good value. Only get rerolls from the World Leaders right now, yeah. Karn is strength 9? Right. That's why we also have Karn. We get both of them. I'm saying why choose? Just take both. I don't know, chat. Yeah. Yeah, 9 attack, strength 9, 3 damage. It does feel like kind of wild. Plus, we could get a Berserker Glaive dude for on one of the MOEs, so he hits almost as hard. Man, it feels like I don't know what Games Workshop was like cooking. And it's funny that everyone in that video I did about combat slingshotting previously was like, this is clearly unintended. Because this does feel like the combat slingshotting faction. Like, we can pay a CP, we can advance in charge and move 8 unit, reroll the advance roll, potentially reroll the charge roll, like with a CP or whatever. And then we get in with a 6-inch pile and consolidate to sling a full rerolling character like into your opponent's backline with a trillion attack buffs on him. Which feels so wild. Like, like it feels like the intended play pattern of both these guys and Emperor's Children almost is like doing the same thing. It's like, hey guys, we're just going to take a character who's independently hits like a fucking truck. He's going to attach a unit of morons who nobody cares about. And those guys are going to sling him into something really valuable. And that feels like basically the entire game plan. Gotta bin a Forge Fiend? I don't know. The Forge Fiends, I think, are the highest value in the pack. Hardening character in the Berserker, so the Blood Surge is actually scary. Well, I think the scariness of the Blood Surge is that they engage you on your turn, right? Because it's not really what you want to do. Like, all the Berserkers do have hardening. Like, they do have characters in them. I wouldn't not attach any anything. Berserker Horde feels like bait. Yeah, I wouldn't play Horde. I think I would play 4 units of 10 at most. The units of 20 feel like maybe it's not meme. I don't know. Like, they're just so expensive points per model. I don't see it being like great value. Three Lords of Skulls, 70 Jackals. Let's go. 20 minutes need to go down a big chunk. Yeah. Yeah, these feel like 16-point models, and they're in the body of an 18-point model. They do feel like a lot. Like, you compare them to like Assault Intercessors or something, right? And they're just like, Assault Intercessors hit harder and also are like cheaper, and you just lose the speed. Which is, I don't know, it feels strange. So we could, if we cut a friend, we could run 4 units of 10 Berserkers. It feels like too many Berserkers. Honestly, I think you could attach Karn and you just leave a Master of Executions by himself. Because the only thing that they lose out on is the reroll advances. They can just like disembark a rhino and go kill 5 dudes by themselves. I think it's fine. I don't think necessarily that you'd have to attach all of them. They don't get like that big of a bonus from attaching into the berserkers. But I think 60 points for 6-9-2-2 feels like you would just take it. I don't know. I guess the other thing is that, like, there's no play with Maulers, is there? This is the other unit that I think that could have a position in here, and maybe Gortrak Onslaught's the right place for them because you get the move through wall strat, but these guys are. I think they are. This profiles look really, really good. Although you get +1 AP. In this detachment, right? That's not locked to berserkers. In berserker warband, is it? I think they would just maybe be slow, but one as an ingress threat is actually kind of sick. Maybe I don't know. So that's another option I would consider. I think 150 is a little bit tough for a melee only vehicle. Like I'd prefer these guys at 140 maybe, but. The output's like the output is there. Potentially like 9 attacks at 16 2 d6 +1 plus another 6 strength 9 attacks. That's good. That's some good numbers, dude. It all like potentially lethal, sustain, all that stuff. Yeah, same price as the Forge Fiend is the real problem, and they also like they're kind of anti-synergistic because I think they want to operate in the same like board space, at least on turn 1. They compete with each other for deployment, which feels bad. But yeah, I think I like them. So anyway, I think this is where I would start with an army. That feels okay. You could maybe cut a Master of Executions and fit another unit in. This is like 1970, we said, I think, or 1930. So there is 70 points left. Which is ironically another Master of Executions if we could take another one. I guess it's if there's no enhancements, it's another Jackal unit, or we take the enhancements, which I think are really strong, so I would probably take enhances. But that feels pretty good. I don't know. That doesn't feel like aggressively mediocre to me. That feels like a solid army. I would play this. It's not quite as it's not spamming the meme vehicles quite as much as I would appreciate, but yeah, maybe it's fine. You could also cut the Hellbrute potentially. You lose like the late game piece, but you could get like another. You get like 2 more utility units almost for the Hellbrute if that's worth it. So that's another potential change. $90-point bloodletters. Are they locked in at 90? It seems like there's maybe a question about that. I do think that there's definitely a lot of play in Demon Kim. Demon Kim do feel unironically pretty good. 90 points for 10. It's like okay. They get like sustained lethal if you get the icon guy nearby. But their attack volume is so low, and you can't take Bloodmasters. Bloodmasters feel like the unlock for that unit, and that's probably why that they're 90 points rather than 110. You also don't get the 6-inch deep strike. You get the summon deep strike, which is sick, but it's different. I mean, if you're playing this detachment, you're taking 1 to 2 units, I think, just to use the stratagem because the stratagem is so good. But yeah, I don't know if I'm that excited about the top line profile. Could you imagine if you could take Bloodmasters though, chat? Could you put The Lord on Juggernaut only attaches to Blood Crushers or Flesh Hounds. He's like, can you put a Master of Executions in that unit? No. Get them to deep strike on people. That'd be sick, actually. Poor Angron's not going to see a fight in a while. Yeah, I was on Facebook and I watched I got served a little like Art of War short, and Jack Harpster was like a lot of the units in this codex got some really interesting changes. And to start with a unit that did not get interesting changes, let's talk about Angron. His changes are decidedly uninteresting. It's like, yeah, Jack, dude, preach, brother. This guy's such a piece of shit now. Oh, Angron, you silly goober. I wonder what is the value, do you think? For this is like, I think, the case for both Angron and Fulgrim. For the Demon Primarchs that have essentially no army support and are just like this one-hit killing machine, what is the actual like good value for them? Is it like 340-ish? Because right now they're both close to 400, I think, and it feels like if you could trade them for a unit and then absorb your opponent's shooting for a turn, like that's enough value. But if you're paying like 300, 350 plus, it feels like you lose too much losing that guy. That especially with the setup requirements, that it's like not really worth it. I don't know. I'm not sure. They both can do like ingress, like deep strike stuff, and then push in, which might be the actual use case. I think it's just a different model than it was previously. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. Are there any? There's no like detachments that like actually buff him, right? Demon Cannon has nothing, and you'd be taking Scarbrand in that case anyway. Possessed Slaughterman doesn't do anything. Goretrank is only transports. Yeah, it's Berserker Warband is the only one with explicit buffs for him. That's sad. Sad times. Something like 330. Well, he only has to compete with Scarbrand in some detachments, right? He's like the Scarbrand equivalent in the other ones. But yeah, he now like is only an offensive side grade from Scarbrand, which is scary to say because Scarbrand's one extra attack and has a consistent damage value, but loses devastating. He's like he's basically the same speed as Scarbrand. Scarbrand is a gun. He's like, Angron's like slightly harder to kill, like very marginally. Scarbrand has 4 more wounds, but loses the +1 armor save, so it's probably a side grade. I think Angron is just Scarbrand. He's like Scarbrand that can maybe come back if you want to discount your army ability for an entire round. With like a little bit of like funny army support. That's so realistically, Angron should be 300, yeah, like 310 or something, 320 at most. It's just wild. Oh man, it's like the writers assumed you always take Berserker Warband. I know that's insane. That's insane to me. Because they literally gave +1 strength to Berserker Warband and -1 strength to every weapon profile, which is like, why? So you are, in order to be similar offensive stats to the index, we have to be in this detachment, which is crazy. I don't know, just insane, dude. He's willing to go in and hit something. What is a Bloodthirster with the 2+ save enhancement? Probably a Bloodthirster's 3. They're 305, I want to say. Bloodthirsters, yeah, 305. So whatever this enhancement costs, I don't have the enhancement costs in front of me right now. I'm gonna level with you. I didn't even grok this could go on a Bloodthirster. That's actually probably good. 18 wounds with the 2+ save is definitely something. He becomes like a Land Raider almost. I hope that's not a super expensive enhancement. I don't have the points values. I didn't download them, but fly is a nerf since it doesn't add movement, and there's a bunch of anti-fly weapons. Well, for long distance movers, it does occasionally let you move over models, and it lets big monsters move over each other, which is actually really strong. If you're doing like ingress stuff or you're trying to stage them. Speaking as someone who very often plays way too many Greater Demons, the ones with fly, like Bellicor and Bloodthirsters, being able to hop over your Great Unclean one is actually really useful. I'm not going to say that that's like, you know, a huge transformative keyword, but it is a quality of life change. But it definitely, like, yeah, it typically doesn't give you movement. But for the stuff that can't normally go through each other, it definitely does help sometimes. Fire is the most popular epic champion. Anyway, chats, should we talk about Death Guard? We've talked quite a bit about World Eaters. Let's jump into the old poopy boys. Let's talk about some Death Guard today. First off, these points values are significantly different than what we were looking at before. We're looking at things like Death Shroud Terminators are, what does that end up being? 47 points per model. Blightlord Terminators have this like really funny stacking points value, which I think is kind of cool. They're 30, 35, 36, or 37 points respectively, depending on how many you take. I do feel like that the 3-man is maybe overcosted because it's really a piece of shit. If you're taking Blightlord Terminators, you're probably taking the 10. But when you compare that 10-man squad to the World Eaters Terminator squad 10-man squad, you're like, oh boy. What are these World Eaters guys doing over here? We should probably take the unit of dudes that gets like 6 special range like guns into their unit, and also +1 strength and AP on other guns. Pretty wild. Biologus Putrefier at 45 is great. Defiler at 165 makes my head explode. That's crazy. That's going to be in every single list for sure. Fetid Blow Drones like coming around between 90 and 100 points where they were previously is great. Foul Blight Spawn at 60 is great. Like basically Lord of Poxes at 75 is good. I was a little bit worried that guy was going to come in at like 90 or something and just be unplayable, but 75 is okay if you need like a Plague Marine attached melee character. I think is really where his benefit lies. Malignant Plaguecaster at 60 like blows my mind. Blight Haulers didn't change. They're still 90 points. Plague Marines are a little pricey, 95 points. I guess that's actually not that much, right? That's 19 points per model, which is super reasonable. 95 for 5. 130 for 7. And then 190 for 10. Yeah, so 19 points per model. It's actually much better than I was expecting. I was expecting like 21 or 22. Interesting. Well, it feels like it's the Plague Marine show today, chats. Plague Marines and their characters are really inexpensive. And we're going to play the fuck out of those guys, I think, is what's going on here, boys. 7-man's pretty nice. Yeah, for sure. Is this the MFM leaks from 3 days ago? Yeah, this is the previewed points, the previewed MFM points, not the ones from the Codex, because the Codex was wrong. Yeah, the World Eater's Defiler is more, which is wild. It is better in melee, like if we compare the two data sheets, but the amount of damage you can expect from an ignore cover on a stick is wild, especially with how well Death Guard tend to... I've lost my Death Guard folder, chat. How well Death Guard tend to support, like, kind of like mid-strength guns. You know, as evidenced by the fact that basically the entire faction is composed of approximately 1 million Predator Destructors right now. Like, basically every single Plague Marine has been retasked into being a tank crew for a Predator Destructor. And that's just where we're at. Death Guard support those so well that, like, these profiles are incredible. But, like, This guy, he's more attacks in melee, and he has a reactive shot, so he's theoretically shooting more times. But like, his guns are kind of passively not as good because they're not getting the benefit of contagion auras. They don't have any army support kind of effect as well. So I almost wonder if there is a universe where you just start Death Guard lists with multiple defilers. Maybe for the Mortarian's Hammer, the one where you can get the Lord of Virulence to give them rerolls, that could just be the way to go. Because it's very easy to get these guys to AP, their battle cannons to AP 2 ignore cover, the equivalent of like strength 11. So they're almost the equivalent of like strength 11 AP 3 lethal, which is like, now we're talking. That's a profile that's gonna kill some folks. Which is wild. So, it's pretty good. Did Mortarian get a points increase? Mortarian is 380. What was he previously? I think he was cheaper previously, right? He's 300 right now, so he's actually like wildly increased. I'm not even sure I'm into Mortarian. I don't think I am. He doesn't have army support. He's another like big beat stick guy, but like, I don't know. We're just gonna kill people with Plague Marines. Like, do we need that guy? Probably not. If he gave us rerolls on our stupid defilers, then sure, yeah, that'd be good. Death Guard Buddy is saying that Death Guard finally looks playable. Yeah, also Death Guard were really good. So anyone who's like, oh, good, Death Guard are finally strong in 10th edition, you've not been paying attention. Did you miss all the times that Death Guard were just killing people previous to this? They won like 3 GTs this weekend with the index rules. They're incredible. The hull spam Death Guard where you take like 8 tanks is really, really good. And I think it's gonna change. I don't know if they support destructors quite as well as they have previously, but I think they're just gonna side grade. To be honest, I think they're still gonna be really highly represented and they're gonna look great. Army support is letting Plague Marines re-embark with your active move. Yeah, but like, you could just take an entire extra Plague Marine brick with all the attached characters and everything for the cost of Mortarian. Like, I don't know. Would I rather have some sneaky stuff on a Plague Marine unit, or would I just rather have another Plague Marine unit, I guess is the open question. So let's take a peek at what we would do with this faction. There's so much good stuff in here that it's like melting my brain a little bit. Also, Plague Marines still got 5-mans, but Khorne Berserkers lost their 5-man. Like, eat your heart out. Oh, man. It's because of the model packaging. Oops. Open up our little list building sheet. So I guess the question is, which detachment are we playing? I think Virulent Victorium is still good. Because these are it's just really good stratagems. You get -1 damage. That's solid. You get the reroll hits and wounds, which is also good. Mortarian's Hammer is also sweet. You can inflict people at range. And then you can do all the vehicle synergies. I think I would probably... Or the other one, I guess, we talked about is the... is it Champions? The one that gives you +2 toughness? Yeah. But that one feels... better for Terminators, I think. So if we're playing Plague Marines, which I think is the easiest way to play the faction, we're probably... This is Berserker Warband. I'll just note it for posterity. So I think we start with the Defiler, right? At least one. Maybe two. Let's start with two Defilers and then cut one if we feel like we need to. I also think we want a Tallyman because the stratagems are great, and we probably want a Demon Prince. We're getting close to. Oh, those other Demon Princes are cheaper. Fucking okay, brother. Why? They're T12, bro. The Tallyman's only 40. All right. And he can also get the enhancement for a 5+ Feel No Pain, right? In this attachment, is that right? I think that's correct. Virulent Vectorium says it is Revolting Regeneration is a 5+ Feel No Pain. So that dude's also hard to kill. It's not. It's kind of it's an upgrade from -1 damage most likely. We can grab. I'm wondering what characters we want to attach in. I think that there is a universe where we take like at least one lone LOV, and we could even attach the Feel No or the Feel No Pain enhancement to a Lord of Virulence. Just because we can make them hard to kill. Oh, this could also be a Flyblown host list, actually. Is Flyblown better? So the Lords of Virulence give you +1 or reroll ones to hits, which I think is the one place that we have a little bit of a tough time sourcing rolls. And we could take the Rejuvenating onto a guy for 10 points to give him regeneration. Although we don't have that much probably like unattached infantry units, so I think we're probably okay. But I do think that we take like a Singleton Lord of Virulence who is 90 points. Even if he's not attaching, just being able to jump him in, like drop him somewhere, shoot an infantry unit, and then give us rerolls on something is a big deal. Because we could put him into a place where it's difficult to engage with him. And he's not the easiest thing to kill. He's like T7, 6 wounds, right? So your opponent has to actually commit to remove him. And if they do that, then they're not fighting the things that are currently shooting at them. And then we take like 30 Plague Marines, maybe. Which is 500 and they're 190 points each, so 570. We want attachments for them. I think so. We could do Putrefiers, which are good. And we could dual attach Putrefiers, and if we take like one Blightspawn unit, we could also then take Putrefiers and Plague Casters, right? Because we can dual attach the Putrefier with the Plague Caster now. Or I guess we could always do that, but it just didn't really matter before. Then we get 5+ Lethal Sustain, which feels like kind of incredible. I think he's like kind of where we're at. Also, 60 points for a fucking Blinking Plague Caster. That's crazy. So it's 100 points per unit. You get D6 +3, D3 damage torrent plus sustained hits on the unit. That's wild, dude. Which will also affect, because the Putrefier has a gun as well, because they can... That's a Blightspawn. Because they can throw their grenade, which is not one shot, by the way. So they get 5+ Lethal Sustain with another 2 damage weapon as well at range 12. The damage at 12 inches from these units is fucking... Like, it's unreal, dude. Absolutely unreal. I wonder... Okay, hear me out. What if we did 2 of these instead of 3? That would be 380 points. So we did 2 of these bricks. And then we took 2 5-mans. Then we have like an outlet for affliction without having to worry about the rest of the army, right? Attach the Lord of Virulence to 3 Death Shroud Terminators. Well, the Death Shrouds don't get... Like, they don't care about attaching that much anymore, right? And they're really expensive for 3 of them. Because they're almost 50 points a model. So it'd be 140 for just 3 dudes to hang out with our 90-point character. Which feels like a lot. I don't know. I'm no expert. That does feel like quite a bit. And then I think we want some amount of utility. So we want like Poxwalkers, like 2 units of Poxwalkers. And we can infiltrate and we can obsec our home objective, which are 60 points, I think, right now. Per units. Poxwalkers are 60. You got 130 for a 20-man. It's a lot. Where are we at for points here? How are we looking? We are at 330 for our potentially 2 defilers. And I wonder if we want another like big gun in the army too. And I would probably like to see some sort of disruption, like rapid ingress piece. If we have points, obviously. Plus 240 for the last 2 120s. Okay, we have 350 points left. I feel like I've added so much to this list, and we can still take more stuff, bro. There's an extra defiler. Did I forget to add something? Oh, I don't have rhinos yet. That's why. I think we probably take 2 rhinos to begin with, and then we see how we feel. Although 3 might be the answer, because the reroll rhino is crazy. And save points to run 7-mans. Yeah, we like get less guns though. Like the goal is like the because we get 1 gun per 5, right? So you actually lose quite a bit of efficiency because you lose, I think, an entire melta-gun and a blight launcher. Where's that data sheet at? For every 5, we get a blight launcher, a spewer, and a melta or plasma, one or the other. Plasmas might be the way to go, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm sure a Death Guard player could tell me what the math looks like. And so because all of those get all the bonuses, that's like the additional shooting is crazy good. Especially if we get like rerolls up with the blast weapons off the Lord of Virulence, for example. Saying how much bigger the list is compared to World Eaters, yeah. I mean, part of it's that like the World Eaters list is more vehicles in it, so this one looks bigger because it's a lot of like little units with little characters in them. But yeah, I don't disagree. It's going for days. That's with the rhinos. So there's 185 points to spend. Plus we want points for enhancements. So we could buy a Death Shroud unit just to have a nice little Death Shroud guy, which feels pretty good. If we wanted a melee counterpunch, because those guys are good. They're good ingressors, right? They don't care about. They can 6-inch on a rapid. Am I right about that? I think so. Because everything else says it's 6 inches during your movement phase. I don't believe theirs does. Where did Death Shrouds go? I want to look at that. Yeah, each time it's set up using Deep Strike. So they can rapid ingress 6 inches away. So they can rapid ingress in like really weird places and then go fight people. And then in Victorium, we have... We can only give them rerolls in the shooting phase, which is a little unfortunate. So we don't have any buffs for them. So without a Lord of Virulence, they feel a little underwhelming in terms of melee output. They're like strength 9, AP 3-ish if we're doing like -1 AP, the -1 AP plague. So is like 140 points worth it for 12 2-damage melee attacks? I'm actually kind of feeling it's not. I kind of feel like we just want more Plague Marines, to be honest. The benefit is that we get to deep strike them. We don't really want like winged demon princes or anything, do we? Oh, we could take Lone Typhus, actually. He's probably sick. Yeah, this guy sucks. I don't care about him. Disagree that it's just for Terminators? I didn't say it's just for Terminators. I said Terminators are good in it. Pay more attention to the Lord of Contagion combo. Did I like miss something about the combo? That's good. I think there's just a good unit, a good character in it. I think that the sustain. Yeah, I know. I am aware that Lords of Contagions are good in Destro Terminator shit. You're not blowing my mind right now. But the point was that like we have in this list in particular, we don't have enough points for a Lord of Contagion plus a Destro Terminator unit without cutting stuff first. Which we could do. We could also turn the 5-man Plague Marines into a 10, and then just like put another Plague Marine brick inside, which might be the way to go. I don't know. And just say fuck it, because the Plague Marines are their own like counterpunch unit essentially. I kind of like another Rhino, I think, to be honest, and maybe another Poxwalker squad. So I think what we could do is like just to round this list out. We could do something like this, and then we have like basically another utility brick essentially to pop like 5-man Plague Marines out and then afflict people from far away. But yeah, maybe blood drones are the way to go potentially too. I think there's a lot of potential directions. So if we did like 170, and we only had 2 Poxwalkers, we could do 1 blood drone. I mean, blood drones are always good, right? So that would be like this, I think, and then we have enough for like 1 more utility thing plus enhancements, probably. Or even another character. We could rock like another Malignant Plague Caster. They don't necessarily need to be like Wombo comboed out. They're also just good jumping out of the Rhinos. Big thing is that the Death Shroud are really hard to avoid. Yeah, I agree. 3-man Blight Lords. I don't know about 3-man Blight Lords. 115 for that. Not really that interested in those guys. It could be a Lord of Contagion plus friends, for sure. And honestly, like, this Lord of Virulence might be... We could pay to reroll our hits with the Plague Marines anyway. So do we need that guy? It saves us so much CP, though. Then we could do 2 full rerolling units. And there's, like, weird anti-synergy because we already rerolling with the Rhinos. It's like you get wound rerolls so many different places in this army that it's like it feels almost unnecessary. It's crazy. The one downside, obviously, is that, and probably the reason that the Death Shrouds are important is that we don't have a lot of reach, right? So if we, like, cut our 5-mans, which does make me feel a little bit worried about our ability to shoot 12 inches away, and then we put a Death Shroud Terminator unit in. So it would be minus 190 plus 140 plus Lord of Virulence or a Lord of Contagion. That actually does feel really good. Then we have 35 for enhancements. The Virulent also has like a lot of really good enhancements for the Punchy Boys. Because we could give him 5-up criticals, or we could give him +1 strength attacks and devastating. Which is already good with... Or 5-up criticals and he sustained hits, which is probably the way to go. So you're 5-up lethal sustain on that guy. Ooh, boy. Or you give him March... God, they're all good. What the fuck? You give him wound rerolls? So yeah, we have 2 enhancements that make... I think we said this is probably the best break, like, just grip of enhancements, I think, maybe in the game. We could put this on Plague Marines, and then they could wound reroll a different way. We could wound reroll with the strat, we could wound reroll with the Rhino, or we could wound reroll with a enhancement. Just so fucking dumb, bro. Why? Wound rerolls is so... It's so rare. Why do you have 3 different ways in this army? Like, it gets to the point where it doesn't feel that good anymore, because you were like, well, we just have it all the time, like, regardless. Like, what is... Oh, the wound reroll enhancement? Fuck that. I'm gonna get wound rerolls a million different ways anyway. It's so weird, dude. Wild. Fucking wild, bro. This gives us wound rerolls in melee with Plague Marines, so that's actually probably
Brian
good.
G donated $2 through Super Chat. 58 attack on Deathsht plus lock sweep kills 22 SM.
With a 6-man? I mean, I would hope that a 6-man of Death Shroud Terminators with an attached character kills a lot of Marines. How many points are they? 6 Death Shroud Terminators, like 390 or something? 3... Or like 2 something? I've lost Death Shroud Terminators, they're gone. 300? So it's a 410 point unit. I think it's probably reasonable. Kills 22 Space Marines. Which is Space Marine? 18 points? So a 410 point unit kills like 400 points of models in melee. That's not unreasonable. It is a lot. But you are talking about like a really bare bones defensive profile. Arch Contaminator on a Biologus. Generation on Demon Prince. Demon Weapons on Lord of Contagion. It does feel like Demon Weapon is being like pushed towards Lord of Contagion because he has both the effects. I do like the Arch Contaminator on one of the Plague Marine squads probably. So they get the rerolls in melee. They're not all... that will affect their sustained hits, which is... Oh, they don't get sustained in melee. Just kidding. They're actually worse in melee now, in hindsight. So that's probably important then. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, chat. That's how I'm feeling. The list building for Death Guard almost feels more difficult because there's way more things that we can take. I would honestly be like less excited to play with it because I think it's mostly just like slow, kind of like boring stuff for the most part. These like World Eaters lists actually feel kind of interesting to me. But I think that's probably because the Death Guard points values are a little silly. I'm not like just take 5 points from their rhinos and put it on these rhinos. Like I don't know why the fire support rhino is 85 points. There is one unit in the game. Oh no, I think it actually might be the case that this is the only unit now that gives fire support to 10 mans. I won't reroll fire support because there's the transport support for Torox primes, but that is for Astromilitarum, but that's hit rolls. They don't give you wound roll rerolls anymore. Falcons and Razorbacks are all 5 mans. Is it like the Crassus, which I think is legended? That gives like the big guy fire support, big boy fire support. So this is the Death Guard. The Death Guard Rhino is like I think just the best fire supporter in the entire game, which is crazy. I guess Hekaton land fortresses. So there's rhinos, and then there's a like 300 point super transport in Leagues of Votann. I think that's it. It gives 10-man fire, like 10-man model unit fire support, and you can't even put like 10 dudes in a Hekaton land fortress that have guns because the only good gun units are Unhear Hearthguard who can't fit or Broke Your Thundercan who can't fit an entire unit inside a land fortress. So you're only affecting like 5 models that are relevant with it. It's crazy. That's insane. But those are the same points value as everyone else's Rhino. That's wild. That's like clearly too strong. I'm mostly mad because I think that road transports are stupid, but then we also get 2 fucking defilers in this army, bro. Man, what the hell? There's 2 bolters provide fire support because they're lethal. They're plague bolters. You get all goopy. You're like, ew, it smells bad. Yucky. And then I'm gonna die. You let Plague Marines and Flyblown kill a unit in Slingshot. The Death Shroud into God. Well, if the unit's dead, then the Plague Marines can't. Then the other guys can't do stuff. Good transport feels like a thing that should be a faction identity. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think good faction should be known. Good transport should be known faction identity. Transport should be, but that's neither here nor there. Oh boy. Oh, Dune Riders, Scorpius Dune Riders. I forgot about them. Yeah. Eldari, the Falcon carries 6. The Eldari fire support transport. I forgot about Dune Riders. Dune Riders are actually pretty good, but they're not like the Skitarii aren't carrying heavy weapons. Or at least not to the level that like Plague Marines are. Part of the extra killer is that Plague Marines get like 3 special weapons per 5, right? So unlike a Scorpius Dune Rider where you're affecting like 1 Transuranic Arquebus and 1 Arc Rifle and 1 Plasma Culver, these guys are like, I have 2 Maltagons, 2 Blight Launchers, 2 Plague Spewers, plus a character, plus another character, both of whom have multi-damage weapons also. So I have like 8 special weapons. They're all multi-damage in my unit, and they're all getting wound rerolls. Cool, man. You killed the god with that thing.
Ryan G donated $2 through Super Chat. 6-inch pylon consolidates in Flyblown is how?
Six-inch pylon consolidate is how the Plague Marines allow Death Shroud Terminators to slingshot. I'm still not sure I understand the combo, chat. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah, they got good blessings here. Well, anyway, chat. I am gonna have to pop off to go over to Twitch and prep our next live stream because we're gonna be watching some Emperor's Children. So speaking of all of the cult chaos Space Marine codexes, we get to move over and watch Mr. Doots, who's over in chat, play Emperor's Children. So I'm gonna jump over there. If you're interested as well, there's actually 2 simultaneous pod finals going on. One of them will be live streamed into the Discord, I believe. So if you come hang out in my Discord server, you could watch both games at the same fucking time, which is sick. But yeah, anyway. I think I'm going to go ahead and pop out. Imagine Emperor's Children with the Death Guard right now. Fuck, dude. I mean, there's a reason the Emperor's Children didn't get the the fire support Rhino. Could you imagine, dude? you could drop drop 12 Noise Marines out of that fucking thing. Holy shit. Emperor's Children would be unironically probably broken with that. Honestly, I mean, it turns out when you give any, like, you know, powerful shitting unit full wound rerolls, it gets really good. So, yeah, it is. It's just strong. It's a strong thing. The -1 toughness, -1 save fire support. Yeah, I don't disagree. And ignore cover, right? And you have rerolls. Like you've an outlet for every part of the sequence you can fix for it. In fairness, like it is only 12-inch range for most of the guns, so it's like it is very short. But they do kill like literally the universe, right? They'll kill almost anything you put in front of them. And maybe that's fine, but I do think that the points values are maybe a little low for what you get there. And honestly, like the list that we built might be over supporting the Plague Marines. Like the Plague Marines may just be able to kill you with their own buffs themselves. Like we don't need the characters, but obviously they can go kind of crazy with the characters attached with them. All right, chat. Well, that's it for me. I'm going to be popping out, and I'm going to be heading on over to Twitch. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me. Please come visit. I will drop a link in the chat momentarily for all of y'all to follow along. Apparently, Chrome has forgotten my Twitch account. Boom! There it is, chat. Yep, I'll see you over on Twitch for some live gameplay. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Keep it classy, folks. And I'll see you tomorrow, probably.